Welcome back to Midnight Signal AI. It is May 12th, 2026, and we've got a packed run today. A new Google Gemini video model surfacing ahead of I/O, some interesting archive work on hallucination detection and tool use, and a cluster of Jensen Huang stories that say a lot about where the AI economy is headed.
And that mix is pretty telling. We're seeing the frontier model race on one side, and then the practical, almost plumbing level research on the other. That usually means the ecosystem is maturing fast. More capability at the top, more effort to make systems trustworthy underneath.
Let's start with TestingCatalog AI news and Google's Gemini Omni video model surfacing ahead of its I/O debut. The key detail here is not just that Google may be preparing a new video-capable Gemini experience, but that it's appearing before the company's big stage moment. That suggests Google wants the market to know this is coming, even if the full reveal is still ahead.
That matters because video is the next obvious battleground after text and images. If Gemini Omni is real and useful, it could change how people edit, summarize, search, and generate moving content. And if it shows up before I/O, Google may be trying to set expectations rather than let competitors define the conversation for them.
The broader point is that video models are becoming a core product category, not a demo category. The companies that can make them fast, controllable, and integrated into everyday workflows are going to have a real edge. Google has the distribution, now it needs the experience to match.
Exactly. The interesting question is whether this is a creator tool, a consumer assistant, or both. If Google gets the interface right, it could make video generation feel less like a novelty and more like a standard feature people expect from an AI platform.
Switching gears to research, arXiv has a paper on 2.5D decomposition for LLM-based spatial construction. The idea is to reduce coordinate errors when language models are asked to place blocks in three-dimensional space by having the model plan in 2 dimensions and letting a deterministic executor handle the vertical placement.
That's a smart move. A lot of LLM failures are not about creativity, they're about consistency in structured tasks. By taking one hard part away from the model, the system can become much more reliable without needing a huge leap in raw intelligence.
And why it matters is bigger than block worlds. This is a pattern we keep seeing across AI. Let the model do what it's good at and hand off the brittle parts to rules or tools. That hybrid approach is often more useful than trying to force the model to do everything end-to-end.
It also hints at how real-world robotics and autonomous construction may work. The future probably isn't a model freehanding every movement. It's a model planning intent, then a deterministic layer making sure the physical execution stays sane.
Another arXiv paper today looks at hallucination detection via activations of open-weight proxy analyzers. Instead of inspecting the generator directly, the approach uses a separate locally hosted open-weight proxy model to read generated text and flag likely hallucinations from its internal activations.
That's important because it works even when the main model is a closed API. In other words, you don't need access to the black box to build a useful monitor around it. That could matter a lot for enterprises that want oversight without waiting for vendors to expose internals.
The practical angle here is governance. If you can build a reliable proxy check around outputs, you can add a layer of safety to customer support, research, and legal workflows where false statements are expensive. It's not a cure-all, but it's a real step toward verification.
And it's a reminder that trust in AI will probably come from systems around the model, not from one magical model that never makes mistakes. The more we can measure and intercept errors after generation, the more usable these systems become in serious settings.
On tool use, arXiv also published Tool Calling is Linearly Readable and Steerable in Language Models. The authors say the identity of the chosen tool can be read from internal activations and even steered by shifting those activations across models including Gemma, Qwen, and Llama variants.
That's a big deal for agent systems. Tool selection is one of those hidden failure points where everything looks fine until the wrong action gets executed. If researchers can predict and steer tool choice, they can potentially make agents more debuggable and more controllable.
It also tells us something about interpretability. We're not just trying to understand what models say anymore, we're trying to understand the decision path behind the next action. For agents, that may matter more than eloquent answers.
Right, because a wrong tool call is often worse than a wrong sentence. A bad sentence can be corrected. A bad action can send an email, move money, or trigger a workflow. Anything that helps catch that before execution is valuable.
Now to Jensen Huang, where there's a lot happening. Inc.com reports that the Nvidia CEO says the most noble career is a certain one, and the surrounding coverage makes clear he's once again emphasizing the importance of building, learning, and working at the center of the AI wave.
Huang has become one of the clearest public voices on AI's labor story. He's not framing the future as machines replacing people wholesale. He keeps pointing towards people who learn the tools and stay close to the technology stack, which is a very Nvidia way of looking at the world.
Related coverage from Observer.com and Let's Data Science says Huang is urging graduates to embrace AI now, with the message summarized as "run, don't walk." News 18 also says he rejects the AI job doom narrative and argues this is an ideal time to enter the workforce.
That's a notable counterweight to the more anxious headlines. Of course, he has a business reason to be optimistic, but the message still lands because it's not just cheerleading. It's basically the people who learn to work with AI early will have the advantage.
Storyboard 18 also reports Huang telling graduates that AI will create opportunities, not replace careers. Whether you see that as market positioning or genuine conviction, it reflects a broader industry push to normalize AI as a skill, not a threat.
And that normalization matters. If students believe AI is just a tool they have to use, not a force they have to fear, you get faster adoption across every profession. The challenge is making sure that optimism doesn't gloss over the real disruption happening in entry-level work.
There's also a geopolitical angle. The tech portal and Investing.com both report that Huang will not join Trump's Beijing trip this week, even though other CEOs like Elon Musk and Tim Cook are reportedly in the mix. That absence is worth noting because Nvidia sits right in the middle of US-China AI tensions.
Absolutely. Nvidia is one of the most strategically important companies in the AI supply chain, so who shows up on which trip is never just social. It can signal caution, market access concerns, or simply a desire to avoid being pulled into a political photo op.
And 36KR has a headline saying Huang is investing $308 billion in AI this year, though that framing should be read carefully because it's likely referring to the broader scale of AI spending tied to his ecosystem, not a personal check. Even so, it underscores how enormous the capital flows around Nvidia have become.
That number, even with the caveat, captures the scale of the moment. Nvidia is no longer just selling chips. It's effectively sitting at the center of a huge industrial build-out, and that makes every commentary cycle around Huang feel like a signal for the whole sector.
Finally, there's a business story with a health angle from Gizmodo. A Mark Zuckerberg-backed AI startup is taking over Parkinson's treatment from the maker of Ozempic. The reporting suggests this is another example of AI-linked capital moving deeper into biotech and therapeutics.
That's a fascinating crossover. It shows how AI investment isn't staying inside software anymore. It's flowing into drug development, treatment platforms, and clinical infrastructure, which could reshape how fast new therapies get designed and tested.
And that's why this story matters beyond the celebrity names. Whether it's Zuckerberg's backing or a pharmaceutical handoff, the key point is that AI is increasingly part of the machinery of medicine, not just the interface people chat with.
Which brings us back to the theme of the whole episode. The frontier is widening. We've got new models, better interpretability, more reliable agent tooling, and capital moving into real-world sectors. AI is becoming less of a single story and more of an operating layer across industries.
That's a good place to land. Google is pushing video, researchers are trying to make models more trustworthy and steerable, and the biggest names in AI are still shaping the public narrative around jobs, growth, and geopolitics. We'll keep tracking what breaks next.
And the important thing is not just who launches the flashiest model, but who makes AI dependable enough to use every day. That's where the real competition is heading now, from demos to systems, from promises to workflows.
Thanks for listening to Midnight Signal AI. If today's update tells us anything, it's that the AI story is getting broader, deeper, and a lot more consequential by the hour.
We'll be back with the next round of developments as they land, because this field definitely isn't slowing down.
That's the brief. We'll be back when the machines have more to say.